Oh, Piggy's on a mission to go somewhere other than right here. Good morning, everyone. All right. We are live. Do you want to get down? Yeah, she's done. She's like, I'm done with this. Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. I'm back in my normal office today. Hopefully the internet holds up. We've had a lot of rain here in Phoenix. Not as much as those of you in California, but we are getting some, and my internet sometimes goes in and out. So if this does go in and out, hang tight. I'm coming back. I am live from now until the top of the hour. So definitely come back. I see all of you on Instagram. Hello, I missed you all last week. I was at a conference last week, which is with amazing healthcare practitioners that are doing so much for this community in keeping us healthy. And so I always truly enjoy my time to them. I want to give a shout out. Thank you to JJ Virgin for putting on an amazing event last week. It was a pleasure to wear a onesie with you and dance around the desert. But I am back. And is anyone out there on Facebook and YouTube and LinkedIn? Please give me a hey, you can hear me. I had to reset everything up in my normal office. So I want to make sure we are actually out there being heard. And hello. I want to start with something I read this morning that really honestly disturbed me. Like I'm kind of, when I come here to these lives, I always try to open it with something that's relevant or something that's going on in the world that you guys may be hearing about. One, to ease your mind, and two, to kind of look at it from a different perspective. Well, this morning I was reading some health articles, just seeing what's going on, right? And we've got, fungal infections and breast implants, and we've got all sorts of stuff going on, right? But one of the things that I read this morning that really kind of, I don't know, guys, hit me to the core as a mom was they did this study and they weren't looking at rates of substance abuse in kids. They weren't looking at rates of drug use. What they were looking at was in the kids that have drug use, why are they using drugs? Now, previously, if you think back, like I know if I think back to my high school years, if there were kids getting together to do some sort of drug or alcohol or whatnot, it was a social event, right? It was like, oh, we're all going to go to this party, or we're all going to go to this concert and this or that, right? It was even when you go back into, think Woodstock, it was a community thing. Not saying it's great for kids to do any of that, but the reason why they did it was more to be more inclusive or to be part of a group or social, kind of like we do as adults. You meet up a friend for happy hour or whatever. Well, they did a study just recently on why kids, and they interviewed 16,000 teenagers aged 13 to 18. And I want to say I have an almost 13-year-old and I have an almost 16-year-old. So this is like looking at my kids, right? Now, I hope they're not doing drugs, but I digress. So when I look at this, they were asking why they were doing drugs. Okay. 73% said, I'm going to quote, to feel mellow, calm, or relaxed. Okay. 44% used recreational drugs or prescribed drugs to fall asleep at night. Once again, we're talking 13 to 18. I'm not talking about adults. Okay. 73% also said they used the drug as a way to, and I quote, stop worrying about a problem or forget bad memories. Now, when I look at this and then I get on my Instagram feed and I see all these news stories, so-and-so was shot in here, so-and-so killed so-and-so, so-and-so died in here, blah, 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 virus is coming, fungus infecting, recalls, all this. And that's the stuff we see. And as adults, it can be a bit hard, right? Even on social media, if someone hates on me or something, like it still hurts, but I'm an adult. There was something that Julia Roberts had posted the other day that I thought was brilliant. Someone had said that she looked old or something. And she was like, I'm 50 and I still am hurt by that. Imagine how the teenagers would feel if that happened to them. And that's a great point. Okay, first of all, Julia's gorgeous. And I don't know what makes people think they have to tear people down. But what I'm talking about is we're in a society of tearing people down. We're in a society of negativity, of drama. This is impacting our kids, guys. I am an adrenal fatigue doctor. I'm a stress doctor, right? I don't want disease, and stress is causing disease, and we're seeing it in our children. That is the point. We're seeing them change why they're do something, because they're lonely. Get this, it used to be that kids did drugs in groups. Now they're saying they're doing them alone, right? I'll even pull out other quotes here. It's insane. Okay. They said less than half drank alcohol. 19% of the surveyed teens reported misusing a prescription drug like pain relievers and sedatives. Okay. Half of them, 50%, said they did the drugs by themselves. So here we have a teenager, 14 years old, taking a prescription sleep aid by themselves. So the concern is overdoses. They're in their room. No one knew what was going on, right? This is a tough conversation to have. So I ask, what do we do? What do we do? Right? You guys have any thoughts? What do we do? As a parent, I'm speaking mom to mom, right? We obviously have to give children some self-worth. We obviously have to, and somewhat shield them from, or help them reframe. You can't really shield anyone from anything, but reframe the way that they look at the negativity and the worry in the world. I don't want a 13-year-old worrying to a point where they have to take a substance to stop worrying. That's a concern. Worry is a learned trait, right? I remember when I was a kid, I loved to fly. I loved to fly. It was great. You know, it was fun. I was up in the air. It wasn't until I was an adult and I started reading about plane crashes did I start to get afraid to fly, right? That was put into my brain. I didn't know it was dangerous. I just thought it was fun, right? Anyone else disturbed by this? Is anyone out there? Did I lose y'all? Not with me today? No? You guys just want to jump into your questions? I'd love to talk about this. I'd love to know, as a community, what do we do? Right? How do we start teaching our kids not to worry, and how to have conversations, and how do you shield them from the impact of all the stuff around? I don't know. Right? I don't know, other than talking to my kids about it, which I do. Naya has a comment on this. Thank you, Naya. I thought you guys would have lots of comments on this. No, you'd rather talk about other stuff. That's cool. It's fine. It is a live Q&A. But this is really important because it talks about stress, and stress is a problem. If it's impacting our kids at that level, how much are we as adults tolerating stress and not paying attention? Just think about that, right? The kids don't know what to do, so they reach for the drugs. What do we do as adults when we're under stress? We stress out more. Maybe we reach for drugs and alcohol too. Maybe we have destructive habits, right? But we're all impacted by it, you know, in some way. But our kids are really being impacted by it. And we're seeing disease development in kids. We're seeing obesity. We're seeing diabetes. We're seeing cardiovascular disease, right? We blame the food, which, okay, but that's a coping mechanism for stress, right? So it all relates back to each other. Naya says, there needs to be more conversations and way less screen time. They need to feel comfortable having heart-to-heart conversations with their parents. Yeah, I know. Now, granted, maybe they're in environments where their parents aren't someone they can speak to, you know? And there's always been that, though. That's what gets me, is I want to distinct that this didn't talk about who develop substance abuse, right? Because we always have, there's kids that are in really hard circumstances and really hard families, but the reason why has changed dramatically. That's what I'm focusing on. It's not like, oh, you know, I'm in an abusive household and this is what I learned from my parents. No, what they're saying is, I want to worry less. I want to sleep more. I'm overexcited, right? That's my concern. Because that's a cortisol response. Do you guys all know what cortisol is by now? For those of you that are new here, cortisol is the response of our adrenal glands to stress. And we are over cortisoled. We have way too much, right? And what's happening is this is developing things like diabetes, cardiovascular disease, depression, anxiety, low thyroid function, bloating, constipation, IBS, immune system disorders, autoimmunity, right? The stress is causing these diseases. It is 100% biochemically involved. You can't avoid it unless you change the way your body responds to stress, which we can do. We have full capability of doing that. It's actually within our control. Did you know that? How many of you think stress is completely out of your control? Anyone? Hearts, thumbs up, yes, no? Anyone out there today? Anyone? Naya says they want to disconnect from their realities because they can't handle them. Yeah. I mean, I can kind of relate sometimes, right? All right, you guys aren't interested in this topic. I see that. So live Q&A, bring it on. What do you want to know? What do you want to talk about today, right? What health questions do you have? If it relates to this conversation, I think we need to have it. If it's not, you're like, oh, this is too serious now, Dr. P. I can't talk about anything heavy. Then fine, we'll talk about something fun. But I just want to remind you all that we actually do have control over this. We actually can change the way our adrenals respond to stress. And we don't have to go down this pathway of worry. And we can also then, I'm hoping, in turn, teach our children as well. Because our generation is one thing, but the generations below us, holy cow, like they're in for a run, man. Right? I got a lot of you joining in. No comments on Instagram. Are my normal chitter chatter people not out there, huh? You guys are all just watching. Who is this lady? Anyway, if you're new here, I'm Dr. Tricia Pingle. I am the Adrenal Whisperer. What do? I take people from wired to tired to calm and connected. Why do I do this? Because it brings you energy and authenticity. You can live your life as you want to live your life under your circumstances, right? And not let other people's stress and anxiety impact your health, right? We can. You can live with energy. You can live with authenticity to who you are. You can be unapologetically you. In fact, I put something on my story the other day of me dancing, and I asked, how many of you do stuff that's just unapologetically you? 50%, it was more than 50% said you don't. That's a shame. You're beautiful. There is something about you that's so unique, and I encourage you to embrace that and live it unapologetically. You should be able to do that and feel comfortable doing that. So as an adult, if 50%, presuming that the people that answered my story were adults for the most part on Instagram, which they are, mostly women. So if 50 or more percent, I think it might have come up to like 55 or 60%, can't live themselves as an adult, unapologetically themselves, how are our children living when they don't have the maturity to make that decision? Just a thought, right? Hi, thanks for commenting on Instagram. So hard to reprogram yourself that you or we are in control of your worries and stress. It's so hard. Yeah, but here's the thing. Let's not call it hard. It actually isn't. It's just a choice. And I know that sounds crazy. You're probably like, whatever, but really, honestly, it is a choice. You can say no to other people's energies, to situations, you can change the way that you take what comes in, where you still deal with it, but in a different way. That is actually a choice. I think it's harder to deal with the disease fallout, the fatigue, the hair loss, the bloating, the lack of motivation, the depression, the poor sleep, having to throw medications on medications on medications, and then not trust what your doctor is doing per se. You're not really sure what the end goal is. That's harder than taking, some time every day to really be mindful and really get an idea of who I am. Who are you? What do you want to do today? What do you want to do with your life? Right? So these are the things that they're hard because we've made them hard, not because they're truly hard. It's because we've deprioritized our own health. Anyone else deprioritize their own health? Anyone else? In times of stress, you go, oh, I'll just go to the gym later. I don't have time for this. I got to deal with this over here. Anyone? Right? So we've been trained, and this is my argument, guys. These are adrenal glands. Our adrenal glands, our cortisol, our environment has trained us to deprioritize our health. So therefore, it seems hard to prioritize our health. Right? We've been trained to not, to rely on medications, to have a quick fix, to grab that to go food, to eat on the run, to go to bed late, to work too hard, to go to bed early, to work all day. We've been conditioned to do this. So we have to break that cycle, right? And that's why it's hard. Does that make sense? It's 100% a choice. We just didn't really pay attention that it was happening. Cell phones came in and technology came in and we all started, communicating and we're like, wow, this is cool. And then before we knew it, we were bing, 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 bing all the time. And now we're starting to see the impact of that, right? And we have to go back. We got to backpedal a little bit. We're moving too fast here. I say as I rattle this off fast, like I've had way too much coffee. But here's the thing. I'm very energetic in the morning. That's why I do my lives in the morning. A lot of people say, Dr. P, why are you here in the morning? I'm at work, right? I'm here in the morning because it's my sharpest time. It's when I can be present with you. Because I'll tell you, my evenings are very much about me. Very much about my family, very much about quiet time. My patients will tell you, I try to cut off stuff in the evening. Now, well, if they need me, they can reach me, but I'm not doing routine stuff after 4 o'clock, even 3 o'clock every day, because my kids come home and I want to be present, right? So we can control it. Boundaries. Yes, I agree. I'm me. I love that you're you. What's uniquely unapologetic about you? What is it? Mine is I have a lot of energy and a lot of people can't handle it, and that's okay. You either jive or you don't. Like, that is okay. I dance. Some of you out there don't like that I dance. You just don't, and you just want to tell me that every time I post it. Stop looking at them. If it bothers you, dude, great. If you want to hear what I have to say and what I say resonates with you, I can be unapologetically me about it, nothing's better, right? Share that energy with you guys, right? I see some questions coming in. Thanks, guys. I'm going to start hitting them up, okay? Any more comments on this, filter in. If you're watching this in a replay, you can type comments below as well, and I'll try to go through and respond to them. I think this is a conversation we need to have. Yeah? Especially with 60% of you not acting as you. Today, I want you all to do something today that is just you, and don't worry about what anyone else thinks about it. Yeah, there's a challenge. I have a question here on supplements. So let's talk about it. What supplements can we use to support our children when they're under stress? That's a great question. I think supplements are nice. I think there's nutritional aspects of it, depending on the nutrition of the child, that you should consider, like probiotic, vitamin D, vitamin C, maybe zinc. But more importantly, that's not what we need to be doing. We need to be teaching a mindset. We need to be working through this with them, because unfortunately, they're going to continue to have stuff coming at them. So, originally we used to shield them. I don't know if we physically can shield them anymore. I think they're going to be exposed no matter what. They go off in the world. I think we have to start having conversations about how important it is to take care of themselves. I think we have to start having conversations about how this is impacting them in some respects, and teaching them. And I don't know how you do this. That's the problem, because they don't have the maturity level in the brain yet for those high level critical thinking skills in some respects. And so I think we have to lead by example. I think that's really important. I think if we as parents, I was at a restaurant the other night, and I'm sure you guys can all relate to this. I'm at a restaurant with my family. We're sitting down, we're talking about each other's day, we're ordering, and there must have been 3 or 4 other tables around me where both parents and the children were all on their phone like this. Ever seen that? Like, they're literally at the same table. I don't know if they're texting each other. I don't know if they're doing work. I don't know what they're doing, but they're not communicating. And I think we're setting the example that that's okay. It's okay to disconnect from people. Let me go back to the stat earlier. Was it 50% of them are doing drugs alone with no other people in their room by themselves, solitary? 13 years old, 14 years old, 15 years old. Why are we teaching people to be solitary? Where's the community, right? So when we're sitting at a table and we're busy, or when, I catch myself doing this all the time. I'm not judging, because I do this too, and I have to catch myself. I my son, we got a pool table because he loves playing pool. And so he's like, Mom, come play pool with me. And I'm like, hold on, dude. I just got to answer this email. Right. And that's fine. I answer my email, but then what do? Maybe another email comes in and I take care of that right away. No, I need to stop and I need to go be with my child because they've asked me something. That email can come later. No one's dying, you know? So, you know, I don't have to take care of that business email at that moment, right? I have to show him that the relationship with him shows priority over my phone. And I think start with dinners, getting back to the dinner table, getting back to having communication, locking the phone in the drawer. Does anyone else relate to this? Anyone else see this? It's, you know, so the supplements would be to support nutrition. The real thing is the mindset. No? I'm awesome. Thanks. They're poor neck and communication skills, right? This is my, and you're at a table with people. I don't understand. Of course they're disconnected because they're connected to their electronic. No? What are we doing? I'm going to bet you that those rates of diabetes, heart disease, depression, anxiety, suicide are going, anger, lashing out, mental health disorders, whatever, are going to continue to go up from that fact alone. So can we change that? Yeah, right now, actually. We have a rule. You cannot have your phone out when we're having a meal together, ever. I can't. I'm a concierge doctor. I don't allow myself to check my phone either. Right? During that dinner time. It's an hour. We'll be okay. Right? So those are things that really we can do right now to start breaking that cycle in ourselves and in our children. All right. Jackie, hi. How are you? She says, I love your book. Thank you. I'm learning so much. Awesome. I do have a book, guys. It's called Total Health Turnaround. You can get it from my website, drpingle.com. You can also get it from Amazon. How do you know if your symptoms are adrenal fatigue, menopause, or just anxiety? I feel like my doctors don't do the full workups to see. I'm thinking of doing HRT to help with my symptoms, but don't want to jump to conclusions and think that's the fix. Any thoughts on how to discern from the three? Yeah, well, I can tell you anytime there is a hormone issue, there's always an adrenal issue. Hormones work together in a balance. So let's look at it this way. We've got 4 classes of hormones, right? We've got blood sugar, we've got sex hormones, we've got adrenal hormones, and we've got thyroid. If one is off, the others are off. Now, to what extent they're off, what came first, the chicken or the egg? It does take a good full workup. I do a full workup on the entire endocrine system, plus nutritional markers, inflammatory markers, full hour, intake, so that I really can understand where this is coming from. There is a risk to immediately giving a hormone if there is indeed an adrenal fatigue, because the hormone deficiency is coming from the adrenal deficiency. So it's really important. I would encourage you, treat the adrenals first and see, is that making a difference in the other symptoms, right? If you're looking for someone to do this for you, I do take new clients in my concierge program. I have one spot in March available. I'm not sure about April yet. As people move into maintenance plans, I open up spots for new patients. So if that's something you want me to help you with, reach out. My book does talk a lot about that too. I do have a lab list. Jackie, if after this, I don't think you can do it while I'm live, but if afterwards, if you type the word labs in any of my posts, don't private message me with it, guys. A lot of you do that. No, any post, below this, just type labs when it's done, and it should send you a DM in your inbox with a link to a lab list of the labs I run every single year to try to discern that exact question. And everyone's different. Do I use hormones? Yeah. Do I always use hormones? No. Right? It's looking at how it lays out with the symptoms. But anxiety is an adrenal response. It just is, right? Fight or flight. That's what anxiety is. So that is your adrenal glands. Now you can say, well, it's low progesterone. Well, what does low progesterone do to the body? It causes a stressful state. Stress also causes low progesterone. So stress is involved no matter how you look at it, right? The adrenal glands, stress, adrenal, I use those interchangeably. Yeah. Good morning, Dr. P. You're awesome. Thank you. I hate seeing everyone on their phones at a table, totally disconnected. Yep. I'm being asked, have I always had high energy since you were a child? Is it genetics? No, I absolutely have not. The innate me, yes. As a child, I had a lot of energy. I was very dynamic. I was also quite shy as a kid. I didn't really have a lot of friends. I was twice their height, which for a kid is hard. I was a tiny little string bean. By the time I was 13, I was almost 6 feet tall. I'm a model. I've modeled for many years. So I was very disconnected, I think, often from people, not quite understanding where I was coming from and being in the public eye all the time. And having people judge me all the time. Look at my figure, look at my height, tell me I'm pretty, tell me I'm ugly, tell me I'm fat, tell me I'm too tall, I'm too short, my hair is too dark, my hair is too light. I'm too bubbly, I'm too quiet, I'm too energetic, I'm too calm. I spent a life of you're too this, that. And it wore me down. It wore me down. Many of you know I've lost my immediate family. They're all above me now. I lost them fairly young. As I was still trying to figure out who am I? Who am I? And why am I here? And what do people like about me? Do they like that I'm energetic? Do they want me quiet? Should I just shut up and sit in front of the camera? I mean, I grew up in a very interesting world. So therefore, no, I think it beat me down. And if anything, Jim, I think it was Jim. If anything, I would say that I didn't embrace the energy and the vibrancy that I embrace now when I was a kid or even a young adult. I think I hid from who I am more often than not. And it wasn't until the last many years, even getting out here and talking to all of you, that I started to realize that I actually do have a voice. I really do have something important to say. And if you don't like it, you don't have to listen. And that was a huge game changer for me, not only for my adrenal health. It balanced out my thyroid, my hair started growing, my nails got longer, my skin looked better, I slept better, my gut issues were disappearing, because I finally just embraced who I am. And if you're going to tread on me, I'm not allowing it. And I think that's a really distinct thing that all of you should look at. Like, who are you, right? And why do you have to mold yourselves to what everyone else wants? It's okay, right? So no, the energy has come out far more in the last 10 years than it ever had before. And although I still model to this day, I still do runway shows periodically, it's a totally different thing. They either like me as I am or I won't do it. Deal. But that's hard when you're young. I think that's why that story earlier really gets me, is when I was put, and I don't tell many people these stories, I need to, but when I was thrown into my first modeling job, I was 9 months old. So I was thrown into it because my mom was a fairly well-known model at the time. And so when I was 13 and I get thrown into this scenario, my brain didn't know how to deal with it. So here I see this article and I'm like, 13-year-olds doing drugs to avoid worry. Like, I think of how impacted I was by somebody saying, hey, you're too skinny, you're too fat, you're too this. And that we didn't even have social media, and how much that impacted me. And now I think, God, these poor kids, what they're exposed to now and what they have to try to tangle their brains around, what we as adults have to tangle our brains around, Does that help? I brought my energy back and I'm proud of it. So I insist that my family sits at the dinner table together without phones. Me too. What is the quickest and easiest way to rid yourself of a cold? I need one ASAP. I think one of the most important things is keep your nose and your mouth clean. Using a neti pot or a nasal lavage can really, really help. Think about it. Why do we have a cold? Why does our nose stuff up? Why does our nose run? Why do we have a cough? Why do we have a sore throat? This is our body. Why do we get GI issues, diarrhea, vomiting? It's our body trying to expel the bug. So help it. Help get it out. That's one of the best things, right? Of course, the things you always think of, like vitamin C, zinc, vitamin D, probiotics, but those are better preventatively, honestly. There are things like NAC and quercetin. I'm a big fan of Myers Cocktail IV therapy. And the reason I say that is it gives a ton of hydration, Why does that matter? Because it's hydration that helps us expel stuff out of our tissue, right? So those are the things I look at. And I'm sorry, you have a cold? No fun. No fun. Absolutely love and appreciate you so much. Oh, thanks. I appreciate that. I have Hashimoto's, so is TMG good for me? Hashimoto's, I treat it more by treating the adrenal glands. I actually don't treat always the thyroid. And every case is different. So looking at the balance of the free levels, the stored levels, the active levels, looking at the nutritional impact of that. Is the Hashimoto's developing because you have a nutrient deficiency that's causing storage of thyroid? Is it due to stress, to cortisol directly that's causing it? Is it due to too much estrogen, which can slow thyroid function and cause Hashimoto's antibodies? So there's a lot of reasons why Hashimoto's develops. So the treatment is not based just on the Hashimoto's diagnosis. It's based on why the antibodies are developing against the thyroid. And then when you can figure that out, then you can give the correct treatment. So no, it doesn't, TMG may not be. I think it's just looking at why it's happening and what we're going to do about it. Yeah. I use adrenal herbs a ton for Hashimoto's, a ton. Ashwagandha, rhodiola, things like my Total Energy, Total Stress Support. I use those a lot for people with Hashimoto's because if you're not controlling the adrenal glands, it doesn't matter how much thyroid support you give, the thyroid will always adapt to the stress. Always. If you're in the woods and you see a bear, you're going to run. That's it. Your body's not going to be like, well, I should probably stop and make thyroid real quick. No, it's going to run. Cortisol will always win. Always. Cortisol always wins over every other hormone. Always. Blood sugar, sex hormones, thyroid. Cortisol will win every time. So make sure you're addressing that. Yeah. I have a lot of questions over here on Facebook. Yay. I love it. I love it. I love it. You guys doing okay? Should I keep going? I got about 10 more minutes. So if you have a pressing question, you're afraid to ask it. My introverts out there like, wow, this chick is energetic. Do I want her to answer my question? Please put it down. I'd love to answer your question. Okay, what it could cause an upper respiratory infection every month. I noticed this after the virus. We're not allowed to say on social media. I'm 54 years old, no smoking. If you're having an upper respiratory infection every month, there's a lot of investigation that needs to happen. One, is it actually an infection? Have you had it swabbed? Is it actually a virus? Is it a bacteria? Is it a fungus? Or is it just an immune response causing mucus development? How's your gut flora? Have you used antibiotics repetitively? So there's a lot of different things to consider here. Keep in mind that, and you guys maybe can relate to this. So for example, can you hear my nose is getting a little bit stuffy? It's because I've had too much coffee. I'm on my second cup. I don't normally have a second cup. Haven't had much of it. But my body tells me, I take a sip and my nose gets kind of stuffy and I'm like, whoa, okay, stop, right? This happens with other foods with me too, right? But that doesn't mean I have a virus. So it could be reacting to something else is my point. You could be reacting to a food. You could be reacting something in the air. It may not be viral. It may not be bacterial. It may not be fungal. So the first thing to figure out is what is it? And then go from there. There are a lot of immune markers you can run. You can run immunoglobulin levels, which is basically looking at, do you have the first line defense in your body to fight these illnesses? And then I probably would do a really good comprehensive stool analysis on the proper flora balance in your gut. That would be where I would go next, Patricia. My brother-in-law just died unexpectedly of acute pancreatitis. Oh, I'm sorry, Jim. He suffered for 3 months. Is there anything that can be done to prevent this? He had terrible pain. It was difficult to watch him go through this, very emotional. He ran over 20 hospitals during his life and had just retired. Yeah, so you just said he ran multiple hospitals. There's a lot of stress there, is one thing to consider. Pancreatitis is inflammation of the pancreas. So if you treat your pancreas poorly, it can become inflamed. And unfortunately, that's not great. So a lot of the times, if you look at the conventional side, they say, oh, it's alcoholism. Not always. It could be poor diet. It could be poor stress response. It could be lack of exercise. It could be excessive fat. It could be poor blood sugar management, right? Because insulin is produced in the pancreas. The pancreas also breaks our food down, right? It has a role in breaking food down and absorbing nutrients. So typically, when there's a chronic inflammation, you have to go to the source as to why. I don't know what his lifestyle was like. But I'm sorry about that. That's hard. And that's one that takes you quick. It kind of goes to the theory, which I think I talked about my last live, is that we don't really know when our time is up. We think we can control it. My family's a testament to you can do things right and be gone, so live your life to the fullest with the gratitude. Don't let other people's bad day ruin your bad day. You wouldn't want your last day on earth to be ruined by somebody else. So I always try to look at my life like that. I say, okay, if today's my last day, I'm going to live it happy and full and find the joy, even when times are really hard. Because it could be worse. I could have not woken up this morning, I said yesterday to a patient, I said, oh, enjoy this beautiful day. And he said, well, I don't know what's outside your window, but it's pouring down rain. This isn't a very beautiful day. And I said, well, it is a beautiful day because I'm awake. I was blessed another day on this earth. That's something to celebrate. Does anyone else celebrate just waking up in the morning? Having the opportunity to actually see your loved ones or go somewhere or do something. That's kind of cool. Not everyone has that, right? You are a gem. Aw. Thanks, love. All right. I see a question over here from Sandra, I think. I didn't have one before. Let's see. Yeah. Instagram's quiet today. Where are you guys at? Facebook's on a roll. Is my connection okay? Not a lot of you out there. I guess missing last week threw you guys all off. You forgot. I will be here next week. Have low cortisol and started adrenal cortex, but now producing breast milk. Is this because hormones responding? Sandra, you need to go to a different physician. I can't give you medical advice over social media. Let me say in general, first of all, when someone's diagnosed with low cortisol, what does that mean? Low cortisol all day long or low cortisol in the morning, low cortisol in the afternoon? How low? Does it spike up at other times? It's a rhythm. There's no low cortisol. I mean, now if you have Addison's disease where your adrenal glands literally do not produce cortisol, that's a disease, right? A genetic situation or pharmaceutical situation. You can get that from taking too many steroids, for example. You can falsely put yourself into that. When we're talking about adrenal dysfunction, we're talking about an adrenal rhythm dysfunction. Sometimes you're running from the bear, sometimes you're not. Then there's another one, then you think of another one, right? If you give an adrenal cortex in that scenario, you're overstimulated. You're already overstimulated, which is why they're not working. So why do we give more stimulant, right? Now, if you have Addison's, you have a true absolute low cortisol, you do not make it, then we're talking a different situation. Okay, so my question is, are they treating Addison's or are they treating low cortisol? There's a difference. Secondly, if you're producing breast milk, typically prolactin is being impacted. So you have to have your prolactin levels looked at, hun. Okay. Yes, all good. I like it. So we're good. You guys are just quiet today, right? Well, I'm wrapping up. It's that time of day. So I guess we'll wrap it up. But I will be here next week. If you were new here, kind of hanging out, maybe I'll listen to her more. Come back. If you're watching this as a replay, hey, maybe I'll see you live sometime. I try to do Fridays, 9:15 Arizona time, which right now is Mountain Time. So I think this will switch soon, and then I'm just going to leave it the same. I'm getting confused by the time zone thing. I think, yeah, I'm going to keep it the same. But anyway, I do have my next round of the Total Energy Turnaround Program coming up April 1st. For those of you that did this last time, it was great. And I really encourage you guys, if you're ready to really start learning how do I combat this stress through nutrition, through exercise, through supplementation, through mindset, the Total Energy Turnaround Program is what you need to look at. It's a group program. I will be there with you every single step of the way. I'm not missing. It's not like I just throw you off on your own. I'm in it, right? We're doing group Q&A calls. We have a Facebook group. I'm there to help. I provide you with materials to do this. It's not meant to be easy because mindset is hard, right? But it's a good hard because when you finally figure it out, you feel so much better. So I've had people, their health was amazing. They were sleeping well within a couple weeks, sleeping soundly, better energy, better outlook, better mood. Many lost weight. We had people feeling that they were becoming back to themselves. They were starting to reconnect with who they are and why they're here and what's important in life. And I think that's the key to health at this point. I think we're being drowned by negativity. Anyone else agree? And you're either going to go down with the ship or you're going to step it up, right? You're going to find a lifeboat and you're going to get away. It's one of the two, right? I'll save my questions for next week because I'm watching Little People right now. I love that. My little person is right here. What does bubbles in your poop mean? Kind of like jellyfish. I'm not sure. I think I'd have to have more information on that. Maybe air, gas, air in the intestine, pockets in the intestine would be the only thing I could think of. But I would have to, I don't know. We'd have to talk more about that one. Have I always lived in Arizona? No, Jim. I'm actually from the Seattle area originally. And I didn't like the dark. I didn't like the wet. I didn't like the rain. I found myself depressed all the time up there. So I moved to someplace with sunshine, and I've been here ever since. So I love living in Arizona. I do. I think the sun is healing. And so, yeah, I got out of the Northwest. So now if I go back to the Northwest, I only go in July and August because it's really the only time it's pretty up there. And my family's gone. They're all with me. So I don't, I have friends to visit, but most of them come visit me here because they want to get out of the rain too. So anyway, all right, guys, see you next week. If you're interested in the Total Energy Turnaround, you can go to the website and sign up for the wait list. This doesn't commit you to buy, but what it does do is give me a list of who to reach out to first to offer spots because I only have so many spots available. So that is thetotalenergyturnaround.com. You can also find it on my website, drpingle.com. Everything is on my website, drpingle.com. Thank you to all of you that took the time to show up today. Thank you to all of you that are watching in replay. And I will see you next week. And thanks for the conversation. And more importantly, thank you for letting me just be me and joining in on this journey with me. So I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.